Hello everyone, my name is John Fisher of All About the Jersey, and we are redoing last season of the New Jersey Devils and Eastside Hockey Manager. So, I went through preseason, I introduced the game to you, and surprise, surprise, after 1 month of simulating the game with very minimal changes to the lineup, the Devils are second in the Eastern Conference. That's right, second in the Eastern Conference. Let's just pause for a minute and think about that. Okay, this is just very, very strange, to be quite honest with you. I haven't gotten many suggestions to update the roster, so to speak, to make it better. If we can jump to the trade center here. The only suggestion I got was from Al Slammers, who suggested that we move Keith Kinkaid. Yeah, he may be a serviceable backup, but if Schneider goes down anyway, the whole thing goes awry, just as I showed in the introduction video. So his original suggestion was to move Kinkaid for a better goaltender, but I said that was going to be the first move, but users NJ Hockey 8, Yay Devils, and Chris Calabrese all suggested that instead, since offense seems to be the one thing this team seems to lack, we should move Kinkaid for an offensive player. And Al Slimers actually agreed with that. Now, I didn't get any suggestions on who to trade for, so what I did here was I put him on the block. And you can do this. You can actually go to a player that you have. Under this action thing, you can go to set player status, and you can set their status within the team to say if they're a regular, a core player, a key player, and so forth. And you can set their market status separately, which is important. So I stated that why we put him on the block. It's not because of financial reasons. That's legitimately false. And yeah, so as you can see here, not a lot of movement, not a lot of great names available in the trade center. There's been some interesting waiver wire movements, and I will regret as Kevin Lomax, maybe I should have jumped on this particular one, that Matthew Peralt, well, number 85 on Winnipeg, was available on waivers. And I've always regarded him as a pretty good player. Scouting-wise, in the game at least, it was listed that he's basically, a two-way left winger center. And since the Devils do have a healthy Patrick Elias and a healthy Jiri Tlusty, that's not really much of an ad, so to speak. So even though decent age, good skating, I passed up on Peralt. However, the fact that he was moved down to the minors suggests that perhaps if you want me to go out and get him and perhaps exchange Keith Kinkaid for him, we can do that. One name of note on the trade center that I noticed was Michael Grabner. Yes, the Michael Grabner. When you scout a guy separately, you get some general impressions. He plays a gritty two-way game, which means that this game does not know who Michael Grabner is. But he's a good skater with speed to burn. That is absolutely correct. Good stick handling skills, very good. Correct. Projection, however, is about 15 points. Third line talent, but he's a goal-scoring forward. His comparison is Mason Raymond, and he's fairly injury prone. And you get a current rating just to gauge your value. And you can see a report card to see that his report card's actually pretty good in some of the important offensive stats that we want and skating. But if you want somebody with poise and leadership and size and strength, he's not a good guy. He's on the block. So if you want me to make Kinkaid for Grabner and hope that Grabner in EHM is better than Grabner in real life, we can try and do that. So again, in the comments at All About the Jersey, please let me know what you want me to do. But Kinkaid will remain on the block until I get a decent offer for an offensive player, as that was the request. So let's look at some stats. So this is the league after a month of action. Jordan Eberle and Steve Stamkos are tied for the lead in points. Alec Goligoski is actually tied in points as well, but he has fewer goals. Patrick Sharp is your leading goal scorer with 9. And look at this, Adam Henrique, and yes, that's right, Lee Stempniak actually is legitimately good in this game. The Devils' top line, the AI John Hines, has consistently put together Camilleri, Henrique, and Stempniak. And if we can jump to the Devils roster and their stats, that they have been the most productive line on the team. Stempniak is tied with Henrique with 5 goals and 5 assists. And Stempniak is your leading shooter at 28. Camilleri is not that far behind at 23. John Moore has been a power play machine. 1 goal, 7 assists, and 8 points, which is very nice from him. Jiri Tlusty has been very productive. He's got 4 goals out of 21 shots for a wonderful shooting percentage of 19%. And Patrick Elias has not only been a contributor, he actually had a hat trick in a game this month, and all 4 of his goals are power play goals. So, he's contributing. So that's the good news. The bad news is you can see here this advanced rating, like who has been the best performing players. If you're familiar with the Football Manager series of games or other out of the park style games, this rating is sort of like a general barometer of, is a guy playing well or not. So as you can see at the top, Corey Schneider is, the man. He's the most important player on the team, followed by Stempniak, Tlusty. Larson has been very good. Camilleri has been very good. Henrique has been very good. Those are the positives. Not so good. Zajac hasn't been that good. He only has one measly little assist. Kyle Palmieri has only recently got on the scoring train, so to speak, with a goal and 2 assists. He could be a little bit better. He's been shooting very poorly at 4.5%. Hopefully that'll pick up. And down at the bottom is you notice a lot of depth players, like your Damon Severson hasn't been that great. Andy Green hasn't been that great. Steven Gianta, Tuomo Ruutu, Sergei Kalinin, Jakob Josefsson. I've seen all those players from Gianta to Josefsson have 5s in a couple games, which means that they're having poor games out there. So getting a guy like Michael Grabner or even Matthew Peralta, or however you pronounce it, because I'm bad with pronouncing names, could be an improvement. The only guy who hasn't seen any action is, of course, the guy that wants to be traded, Keith Kinkaid. So, as a summary of what we're going to do for future months, there is one other transaction I do want to highlight. Transactions, players out, loads in, loads out. Okay, I don't have roster moves under transactions. That's okay. I know what they are. So Jordan Tutu at the beginning of this simulation was on IR due to an injury, and to return him, I had to I basically had to send down Reed Boucher. Reed Boucher, who was given number 69, which will make David Sarch very happy. He'll probably say nice or something like that. He had a couple games. He did okay, and then I sent him down because he was waiver ineligible. So we're at a full 23 players on the roster here. And some guys have been rotated in and out. Schlemko and Jelena have been rotated in and out. The fourth liners have been rotated in and out. Just to show you, sometimes the AI, John Hines, is very smart by putting Steven Gianta at wing when Sergei Kalinin at center. Actually isn't that bad, but there have been other games where Bobby Farnham was lining up at center instead, which is, well, strange. And even worse is that you have Ruutu on a penalty kill, which is also odd. Stefan Matteau continues to be a regular on the team, which is also a change of pace. And yeah, I mean, this is your team right here. It's basically the offense is driven by the power play. Camilleri, Elias, Stempniak has been very productive. And even strength, I know it says Elias right here, but it's actually been Henrique. He wasn't selected the last time I did that. So anyway, to show off what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a quick summary of all the results so you have a general idea of how the Devils have played. So obviously after a month, the Devils are first in their division. They have a winning record. And, yeah, it's very different from the norm. So let's just get to it. So the first game of the season, just like in real life, the Devils lost to the Jets. This one went to overtime, and Matt Fraser, who's now with Manitoba, scored your OT winning goal. Tlusty, made a very good impression with a brace, so that's very nice. Your best players, obviously Tlusty was first star of the game. The rest of the Devils, they had kind of a crummy debut of the season. The Capitals, however, this was the game where I started realizing maybe this game's going to be a little different than real life. This game had 2 goals by the Capitals, and then the Devils had 2 quick goals, just 2 very quick goals to tie it up. The game held on into overtime, and just as an aside, when I do these games, I do view them, so I view the key-only highlights. And the key-only highlights show goals and typically the ends of games, like the last 2 minutes or so, empty net situations, overtime like that. And it was very interesting to see AI John Hines throw out in 3-on-3 overtime Jakob Josefsson, John Merrill, and Eric Jelena against Alexander Ovechkin in overtime. And not only that, seeing the little dot of Eric Jelena have a complete clear lane to the net, get to the blue line, and just dump it away and not even change. So, in real life, if we'd seen that, we would all be screaming for Jelena's head for being such a dummy, but it didn't burn the Devils here, and AI John Hines does not care. Anyway, the game went to a shootout, and hey, the Devils won a shootout. It was wonderful. Tlusty with the shootout goal. Obviously, he was a big deal, but the big stars of the game were the goaltenders, Schneider with 37 saves, Holtby with 30, Stempniak had, of course, the tying goal. We go to Nashville. I'm sorry, the game against Nashville. And James Neal scored 2 fairly quick goals in that one. Mike Camilleri got them on the board late, but it was not to be. Schneider did play well enough. Despite a 29-31 differential, he was rated a 9, so he was playing on his head. Rest of the team, kind of a ho-hum game. AAtJ actually had a real struggle of a game. Fun fact, he's actually the captain of this team. But, hey, that's what the AI wants. That's what I do. I'm Kevin Lomax. I'm just doing what you tell me to do. All right, so against San Jose, Peter DeBoer's team, the scouting report for this opened with the line, we have to come out guns blazing, and the Devils did. 3 goals. Stempniak, and Henrique with an empty, and they shut out Peter DeBoer. Very nice stuff. Andy Green had a poor game, but mostly everybody else had a pretty good game. Stempniak and Schneider were your stars. Adam Henrique also did very well himself. And for this one, the Devils playing the Rangers. The Devils won in overtime. We're going to go show the highlights because we need to see the highlights of the Devils beating the Rangers. So let's see here. I want to play all goals. Whoops. I'm going to slow this down a little bit so it's a little easier to follow. So beginning of the game, Tlusty just gets sprung into space and beats Antti Ranta to pop one home. Very nice. Early in the game, within the first minute. Third period. Okay, Devils trying to hold on to a 1-0 lead. We see Stempniak. He's going to throw it across, which is a bad decision. Stempniak with a terrible giveaway. And Matt Zuccarello made him pay for it. Fun fact in the game, Zuccarello had a goal-scoring streak. So we're in overtime here. Camilleri passes it up. Devils on the power play. Zajac, he's making a move. Throws it against the side of the net. Gets it back. Zajac tries to pop it in, but does not get it home. Set up for the face-off with, of course, the killer group of Zajac, Henrique, Merrill, and more. Let's play Which One Doesn't Belong. No, we will take the face-off. Instead, John Moore trickles one in. That's right. Devils win. Wonderful stuff. Anyway, beating the Rangers is always a big highlight. For quote-unquote big performances and big games like that, I'll show the highlights of the game because I think they do stand out and give a little bit of color than just me showing you the box score and dealing with it. Anyway, true to life, the Devils hosted Arizona and did not sell out on a Tuesday night. Unlike true to life, the Devils just dropped a hammer on Arizona. AAtJ with 3 power play goals in the game, a near natural hat trick. Very nice from him. Henrique and Stempniak were also just running wild on them. Arizona got a couple goals late, but who cares about that? But obviously, AAtJ was the man. And you can see, even with a hat trick, he's a 9. Like, to get a 10, you have to be beyond amazing, which is pretty true in most football manager games. But if you see a 9 or an 8 or a 9, you should just be real happy with what you see here. So a lot of 7s, a lot of 8s, a couple 9s, pretty good. A couple 6s, not so good. But that's just the way things go. Devils went into Ottawa. No last-second drama like in real life. The Devils went up early. David Schlemko on his first game and his first NHL shot of the season scores a goal. Very nice. And Camilleri makes it 3-0 30 seconds later, so that's always good. I will say sometimes the goals come a little too quickly, but hey, it is what it is. That can happen in real life too. Camilleri, Henrique, and Stempniak were aligned, and they were your 3 stars of the game. Very, very good for them. And the defense continues to hold on as Schneider only faced 20 shots. Against the Sabres, who were winless, I think, at the time this game happened, the Devils dragged this game late in overtime. Palmieri finally got on the board for the first time this season. And then Henrique finished it, which was very good to see. Then the Columbus game happened, and just like real life, the Devils sort of laid up a goose egg. Actually, no, I take that back. I can't remember what happened in real life now. I was at this game too. Oh yeah, the Devils did lose that one, I think. Well, regardless, in this game that we're seeing here, the Devils did not have a particularly great game. Yeah, Schneider did well, Larson did well, Camilleri scored a goal. But again, a lot of more 6s, a couple of 5 or 2, only a handful of 7s. Not good enough against a team that was very, very strong and very quick in their scoring. The Flyers were definitely winless when this happened. And I got to say here, I'm not going to show the highlight, but after you see a quick goal by Adam Henrique to score a power play goal, you think this is great. And just to highlight the penalty section here, another penalty later on, but unfortunately, Claude Giroux took a shot behind the blue line and scored. And yeah, that was a pretty ugly shorthanded goal. But can't really hate on Schneider too much since, again, he's been the man so far. Shen made it 2-1, and the Devils, they tried. They put up 30 shots on Mr. Mason, but they couldn't solve him again, which was unfortunate. So the Devils handed the Flyers their first win of the season. That's not a good thing. But the Devils got back on the good foot by beating the Islanders in a shootout. Again, first goal by the Islanders, then Tlusty and AAtJ put it back into the lead. Okposo scored about halfway through the third period. And then the shootout came. Tavares scored early. Then Stempniak tied it up with an important goal. And then Palmieri actually came through. So hopefully this is a sign that Palmieri will get going. So that's how the Devils have done so far. Again, let's go back to the standings. So the Devils are 7-3-1. They have the best GA in the league. Their GF could be a little bit better, but it's not the worst, which is very good to see. So the Devils are actually in a pretty good position right now. It's definitely not safe. Obviously, it's only October. Carolina, Columbus all have the same number of points. The Rangers are right behind them. And, there's more than enough hockey for the other teams to start catching up if they have to. That being said, the Devils are in a better position now than they were in real life. So if you're on the fence as far as what this team needs to improve upon, then you may be willing to utter the two most famous words of the past few years of Devils management, which is, of course, status quo. So my suggestion to you, as somebody who's been watching this, representing Mr. Kevin Lomax in this case, is that we'll keep Kinkaid on the block, trade him for a forward or an offensive player of some type. I would definitely try to seek out some help for the bottom six because the Kalinins, the Rutus, the Josefsons, and so forth really aren't contributing much. I'm confident that Zajac and Palmieri will, and it is a bit odd that they're not getting the minutes and the situations that they got in real life because, again, AAtJ is here and playing in this particular simulation. So I would recommend if you have an idea for a good third liner or a good fourth liner, somebody who can get some offense in, get some shots in, do something a little bit better than a Steven Gianta or a Tuomo Ruutu or a Bobby Farnham, then, I would make that recommendation. Alternatively, Keith Kinkaid could probably be traded for one of those types of guys. Right now we have a full roster. Nobody's injured, which is pretty good. So no big deals to do with that case. Again, Tutu is the only one that was on IR, and I only had to move Boucher down to make space for him. That being said, if you want to make space for the Bouchers and the Blandisis and any other players from Albany, we have to make space on the roster. So if we want to trade for players or future picks, that's an option too. I would still hold off on moving the Zaka and the Quenneville, but again, the goal of this simulation is to try to make the playoffs, so let's be bold. Anyway, give me your comments and your suggestions on what you want me to do with this team before I start simming November, which will probably be a week from now. And leave them in the comments at All About the Jersey. Thank you for watching.